our honorary guest, Mr. Carlo Biondo of Google. So, in brief, there is no need definitely to introduce Google as a multinational giant, trend-setting company. So, Mr. Biondo has a vast experience in consultancy and strategic management. So, in order not to waste time, I immediately give the floor to you, please.
Thank you. It's like this. Okay. I will say to shut up because there is a video. So.
Hey, shady baby, I'm hot, like a prodigal son. Pick up a little meeny, money, mo, and flower. You're the chosen one.
Hello, everybody.
Good evening, thank you. I'm sorry for being a bit late. My name is Carlo. I'm, as my name says, Italian by father, but I'm also French by mother. I've been working in the internet for now since 1998 for a company called America Online, and then now for Google. What I would like to do is, I would like to talk a little bit about what I think is the internet and the big bets that companies like Google have made. On what do we bet? What do we believe is important in on the web and for the economy. Then I would like to share with you a little bit what I've learned. How does a company like Google, or also Yandex as well, innovate and develops? And what are the principles we are following? Then I want to talk 4 or 5 minutes about the economy. Why is it important for the economy? We are in the University of Economy. Actually, my dream is to come back to be a professor one day. I had to stop when I started traveling like this, because when you travel around the world continuously, it's impossible to be reliable. But my dream one day is to come back to university. I loved it, and I always love to talk to students. So I'll try to make this very informal and sort of fast, so that in about 20 minutes I stop speaking and we start interacting. You can ask me any question I want. There is no bad question. There is no, we'll talk about anything. And if I think I cannot answer, I'll say why I cannot answer. We'll see. So just to start, if I stand up, you see me better. But if it's nicer if I stand up, right? Because you see me better. Do you hear me as well? There is another type of mic?
Yes.
Yeah, let's give me that, because so that it's nicer, I think, if, yeah. Thank you.
Do you want to click?
So the web, if you think about it, and we saw that very well from that advertising that we just showed. It doesn't work. Okay. I wanted to go back to the, okay, doesn't matter. The web is the first time that we have 2 characteristics that have changed the economy, but because they are together, they made that change. The first one is it's a language. And if you think about it, the beauty of it is that a machine can understand another. It's a language for machines, but they can understand each other. So at the beginning, it was only about a few machines, because the network was used for defense or other things, and then it becomes about everything. Because this language empowers lots of objects the same way, like mobile phones or... leave it to it. If you get to the wrong slide...
So this is very important. And I understand you can tell me, Carlo, but it's obvious you don't need to come to university to tell us that. But please do think about it. The power of having a common language. If you think about something like Android, it gives access immediately to a very vast quantity of people around the world. So if you're an SMB, a small and medium company, you can say, okay, with one development, I access 300 million people around the globe, 2 billion people around the globe. And I access 60% of the people that speak my language, 70% of the people that speak my language, or 80%. That was impossible 10 years ago, because you had to make developments for each different type of mobile phone. It was just not possible. You didn't have a platform like this. Same thing for the web with the PCs. Before you had that language, you had to develop for each and every different type of interface. There were developments for Mac, there were developments for IBM. Within the developments of DOS, there were different things. So this homogenization of the language is why the network became so powerful. I want to connect with you because you will understand me. You'll speak the same language. So power of the network is high because of that connectivity, that language, and obviously one helps the other. Another element, if you think about it, extremely important, and then I'll go to the principles of innovation, is the belief, which is also a reality, that the cost of managing information continues to go down. You all know the famous law of Moore, right? You are in university, you know the law of Moore. 1977, this guy who said the cost of storing information will go down of 50% every year, whatever, and you will double the ability to manage information because every year the chips become smaller or more dense. This story worked since 1977 and still works. Every year, you can store more information for less cost. What does this mean? At the beginning, it meant that you could put the information directly on the web and access it. So if you think about it, something like a search engine, again, whether it's Google or Yandex, doesn't matter, stores the web somewhere to access it and reproduces it constantly. The cost is the investment to create those machines to do that. So the bets that Google did at the beginning were the ones I'll tell now. The first bet was, if the cost of managing information goes down every year, and if I can make the cost of storage marginal, because I don't need to invest in big machines, but I can use small machines and add a number of small machines, so I make the cost of growing variable and not by big scales, I can manage this cost of managing information in a certain way. First bet. Second bet, which is actually proving true, both of them, otherwise we wouldn't be here. The second bet is, very important one, is not only this is true for information, but it is true for software. The calculation, the power of calculation, the computing power can be on a machine remotely. You don't need it in your phone, where is my phone, or in anything. You just connect to the power of calculation that's somewhere. And this changed two fundamental things for companies. The first thing it changed is, if you think about it, and this is where the search engine arrives, what this changed through those two bets was companies can access marketing at variable cost. You know how we make money at Google, or again, also Yandex, they make money the same way. You connect to the search engine and you purchase keywords, no? So you own a hotel in Moscow, you want people to go on your site, you purchase a hotel in Moscow and the other peers here. Great. You are in an economy university, so we'll not go long on that. But what did this change? It changed one fundamental rule, which was instead of purchasing advertising at 1,000 euro, 2,000, or rubles, I don't know how many, a million, you, and not knowing how much of the spend was a result, you measure euro by euro, and it's a variable cost. So if I am a company and I want to sell to the world, I don't need to create an office everywhere in the world with a fixed cost. I just translate my website and use the tools of the web. Again, Google, eventually Facebook, some others, and others. So marketing became a variable cost. SMBs started to export. Competition changed between SMBs and big companies. And when you think about it today, even with regulators, this is important. Don't kill me, wait. Regulators is important because the regulators don't know when they think of this new economy, how to approach this problem. On one side, there is the small to big companies that represent the past, who have a difficulty to change because they have a lot of employees and costs, and transforming the model is difficult. On the other side, you have lots of SMBs that now can compete with the big companies because of the platform effect, because of what I said before. So clearly, there is a paradox. Do you protect the small companies and their ability to create competition? Do you protect the big companies and the models of the past? How do you find the balance? And on purpose, I'm saying it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to do. And that's why it's also so difficult to transform the economy. So, what happened? Well, not only marketing became a variable cost, but today IT is becoming a variable cost through cloud computing. So the same thing I told you about marketing is also true today if you want to create an information system. If you're an SMB, you don't buy an information system by purchasing today big, huge servers or spending a lot of money. You purchase on demand to us, to IBM, to a lot of different companies, but IT becomes a variable cost that grows incrementally by small steps instead of growing like before by big investments. This changes completely the way a small and medium company thinks. And I'll continue my speech, but I'll stop there for a second, because I understand you could look and say, this guy has come from France, he's Italian, strange accent, and he tells us something that's obvious. Well, if it's obvious, I'm happy, because I can tell you that understanding those two things, marketing becomes a variable cost, IT becomes a variable cost, the platform effect is important, are the three rules of the new economy. And the companies that are developed in the old economy have lots of difficulties to understand what those three things mean. It means that being fast is more important than being big. Because if it's a variable cost, by being big I have no advantage. I have no advantage of scale. It means, and I'll go there, that the frontiers between the different parts of the economies are going down, between different sectors. I'll come there in a second. It means that you can create jobs by using single platform very fast. We saw that, in Europe in the last years, not me, the Commission said that 3.5 million jobs have been created in the last 4 years to serve applications on platforms like Android or iOS. So it changed the logic of the economy you're all working in and living in. It's very important for you to understand that marketing at performance, IT at performance, are new variables in the economy. Now, let me tell you a couple of things. I know I already took 10 minutes. I already have another 10 before to go to questions. Those 5 principles I'll talk to you about have been to me the aha lesson when I arrived at Google. When I arrived at Google, don't read, I'll come to you in a second. Don't read. The first lesson I had was we were trying to digitize books. I don't know if, no, you were not at university at the time. It was 9 years ago. We wanted to digitize books because, well, if we bring the books on the web, everybody can access information in a way that's even better, and we have the past on the web and not only the present, and it's better because everybody can understand where we are and, So I did the business plan, and I came from a good school like yours. At the time, I don't know now, but the schools taught us the business plan saying, Carlo, what you need to do is calculate revenue, calculate the cost minus revenue, if it's positive, good, if it's negative, bad, and go ahead. So we all had curves like this, revenue, hockey stick, cost, maybe growing like this, and the result of the curve was a loss until 4 or 5 years later where it goes up and life is beautiful. Obviously difficult to realize those business plans. Now what changed is Larry and Sergey, the founders, at the meeting, they were still the founders, I remember, I arrived there with my business plan and said, the cost, I know. I could calculate the cost of digitizing all the books of Europe. If we can do it or not, other story, but I could calculate the cost. The revenue, no idea. I don't know what the business model is. I don't know who will pay it for what. So, I'm sorry, I failed. And they said, you partially failed, but you failed because you didn't ask yourself the right question. The first question to ask, and it comes to those principles that I'm coming at in a second, and yes, sir, you will be able to read them now with me. But the first question to ask is, what problem am I sorting out? What is the issue I'm sorting out by digitizing books? And if the issue is big, if you sort out a big problem for humanity, like, whether you like it or not, the search engine, whatever the brand it has, sorted out a big problem, access to information for everybody for free. That's not nothing. If you are in Africa or in every country in the world that didn't have that before at all, changes your life. It changed the life of people. You know lots of things you didn't know before. There can be also bads, but it's a huge value for everybody. Books, same story. What do you sort out as a problem? If you can answer this question well, money will come. And business plans should be done. Problem you sort out, importance of that problem, cost, how do we cover that cost? Before to think about the revenue. The revenue is a consequence of this, it's not a cause. Revenue is a consequence of a job well done. Revenue is not in itself, the definition. It's the result. Very important lesson for me. Business plan starts from the problem you want to sort out, not from the revenue, not from the cost. So, that said, I've been looking at Google now for 9 years, and I saw those 5 principles. Principle number 1, there is a big benefit in starting from zero. When we started the search engine, we had this white page, that thing in the middle, simple, easy, start from scratch. Obviously, this is why big companies that come from the old economy have difficulties, because they cannot start from scratch. Something that they need to protect and defend and support. But when you start from scratch, if you start from the right principles, you have a benefit. That's why there are so many startups growing, and that's why the economy is changing so fast, because starting from scratch is a big benefit. You start from the problem you want to sort out. You don't start from yourself. You start from your customer. You start from the market. So to me, this first principle, which is restarting from scratch, is one of the benefits of the companies that are developed today. The second one is keep it simple. Complexity has to be for you, not for the user. And I see lots of startups, and I coach lots of startups, and I learn from talking as well. But the first thing I always try to see is the simplicity. How many of you have a mobile phone in your hand? But if you use a mobile phone, you want it to be simple. Apple, with the iPhone, did not invent the phone. And if you think even the apps on phones, Japanese had them before with something called iMode. Okay, you look at me, the guy is prehistoric, iMode is very old. I agree. But it was the first execution of the idea, but it wasn't executed well. Simplicity, quality of execution is very important on the web. Don't think the idea is fundamental. The idea in itself is probably not that important. The important is how you execute it. And all the companies that grew on the web that became important execute very well. We did not invent the search engine. We did not invent most of the things we developed. But I think Google, as many other companies, did it always very well. We are paranoid of quality of execution and simplicity. It's a very important element of how you work in the new economy in the future. And I think in all the jobs you will be doing after university, that principle of saying, forget yourself, make it easy for others, simplicity will be the key of the success. The third one, you could tell me, Carlo, is another way to say the same thing, but I prefer to say it, is focus on the user, everything else will follow. Focus on how the user will use your service, how he will benefit from it, how will we interact with you. When to look at digitizing old companies, what we always do is to say, okay, let's look at the cycle, what we call the customer wheel, how the customer uses your service, from booking a ticket to traveling to arriving, all the cycle. And let's look at when they want to interact with you, the cycle. How the web can help you interact with that more economically than before the web. And when there's an advantage in economy or in simplicity, you get a new business model. So focusing on the user, how the user interacts with your service, is extremely, extremely important. Principle number 4. When you buy a luxury item, and I always talk to luxury companies about this, I'm French, so let me mention Hermès, they purchase bags. Beautiful, huh? The bags from Hermès are always a marvel. But they come out perfect, If you look at the bag coming from Hermès and you see something not perfect, scandal. It's a full-fledged product that's perfect. But that's what you buy. the beauty of that. If we try to come out with the perfect product, we never come out. You remember the glasses, the Google glasses of some years ago? You had to put your eye like this to try to read in that thing. It was painful, difficult. And actually, they used it to read. People used it to look at things. The glass was used not for email, not for reading as we thought, but was used to show to other people your same perspective. So I'm in a museum, my father is in Rome, I'm going to show it to my father, I light it up and he sees it. I could have done it with my phone like this, but my hand's free and I'm doing it, and this is a commodity. So again, simplicity one, the usage was that, but it was not what we expected. It wasn't what we expected. User taught us what it could be. We imagined 5 or 6 other different usages, and then we ended up with that one. So very important to use the power of the cloud, to use the power of the web, if you want, to always bet on the web and say, I'll make the user tell me what they want, and then I'll change my development, adapt it to them. So I come up with ideas which are sometimes imperfect, and I use the web to make them perfect or make them better. Still keeping the quality of execution and the simplicity. Okay? If I say, if I transfer to my consumers problems and complexity, it won't work. But if I leave them a tool that they can change, it would work. Last principle, very important, open processes. I'm sure you've studied here the battle between Microsoft and Apple, right? For open systems, iOS versus, not iOS, sorry, the Mac. Here. Okay, the Mac system against the DOS system of 20 years ago. You remember the battle? DOS was open, I give my license to everybody. Apple was only for me, but perfect experience with the hardware. Open versus closed. At the beginning, open won. Apple is winning today, but they switched to open. They created a platform on which others can develop, not only themselves. They switched to open on the mobile phone rather than the closed before. What I'm trying to say here is the bet we do at Google, it's a bet, it can be wrong, but it's a bet, is we never go against the power of the web. Always open processes, as much as possible open source, as much like Android, as much as possible we interact with the network so that the power of the network pushes it up and people develop with us. We don't try to create proprietary things. We send people to sites, we send people out. We try to make that web economy work because it makes us work as well. Now, I don't want to speak for all the hour. I would love to have questions, so I'll speed up a bit. But I thought those 5 principles were important. The bet Google has done to get where they are, to arrive where it is, were important, because I think they make you understand with me where we are going. Now, where are we going? If I came to talk to you 5 years ago, I would say we are going mobile. Yeah, you cannot understand the slide before I say what it is. Don't worry, normal. But you will in a second. 5 years ago, I would have said we are going mobile. We are going from the world of I connect when I'm home, I sit down in front of my PC, or when I'm in university, from during the day with the mobile. And the principle of the company at Google was mobile first. Everything had to become mobile. Because we saw, well, if people can use the web day and night with their mobile continuously, instead of having to go in front of a machine, well, we multiply our possibilities of interacting with them by, I don't know, by a big number of times during the day, so we will also create more service and also make more money. That bet, good. Now the bet we make is this. Machine learning. Some people call it artificial intelligence. I'm a bit scared about artificial intelligence, so we'll call it machine learning. And if you want, we'll talk about the risk of artificial intelligence later during the questions. But why is machine learning so important? Because if today the cost of storage of information is so low, and you have so much information on the web, if today you can measure information at a low cost, I'll give you an example. The Jacquard project developed here in Russia with some partners. I can put connectivity on my garments. It can measure my heartbeat. It can measure some parameters for my health. I put a contact lens and it can measure my, acidity of eye. You don't care, it's ugly. It is, but by measuring that, you know if I'm ill or not, or certain things. So what I'm saying is all the cost of measuring information goes down. All the cost of storing information goes down. You can measure during all the day because of the mobile phone that's in my pocket continuously, unfortunately. But anyway, continuously day and night. The next problem is what? What is the next problem? Very simple. Using those data wisely. If you give me all the data on diabetes or on illness of the people around this room measuring on their body, I don't know what to do. Even if I'm Google, I have no idea. But if I partner with a company that does, like Sanofi on diabetes, we partnered some years ago, I create a new service. You tell me privacy, data sharing, issues with data and the economy. Yeah, we'll talk about all that. But imagine the beauty and the power of this. Machine learning, so a machine connects to the old data, looks at the patterns, finds the correlations, because it measures big memory every day continuously, creates a new service. Let me give you 3 examples. Health. We started measuring on the body glaucoma things. We now have a new process for diabetes together with Sanofi. Diabetes is a big problem in the world. And you can cure diabetes, know what to eat, avoid having a difficult life, thanks to that service, which is now on the market. In a few weeks or months, there will be on the market a service for cancer of skin. By making pictures of cancers of skin for 2 years all over the world, we understood better the picture, what it means. And you can be in a remote area of Asia or far away from Moscow, I'm saying because of hospitals, or far away from Rome in south of Italy, whatever, and you can still have the cure because I'll tell you, picture, yeah, you know, there is a risk or there is no risk. Changes life. Imagine, I know, to go away from health. Translation. I'll go back to that slide in the end. Because of machine learning, you can improve the quality of translation. And we now came out last week, actually, with a new headphone, that measures very rapidly what you say and can translate it in any language immediately. Without machine learning, improving quality of translation would have taken an incredible amount of time. With that, it becomes very fast. Imagine analyzing all the customers of a telco operator to decide what contract to propose to who. With machine learning, you can. So the power of the cloud, connected with machine learning, the variable cost of connectivity and of usage of informatics, allow new business models that born from collaboration. This is another example on art. We started looking at the commonalities between pieces of art around, and we have a big culture institute where we put culture on the web, a big investment so that culture is not only, Anglo-American on the web, but that the web looks like the world. So we do a lot of investment in Russia as well with many institutions. But we started looking at correlations. And it told us a lot about humanity, about how we think, about what we like, about, similarities and also diversities. And it was very interesting to do, but with machine learning, we could do it by hand. The cost would have been impossible. I'll go to this in a second to voice, but I want to stop before to go to voice for a second. Again, I'll stop, really promise you in 2 minutes, I took a bit more time. Because if we agree the importance of machine learning, if we understand the importance of sharing data between different experts, I can take the data on the body, but I can't analyze it for health, the example I took before. If we agree on the value of connectivity all day and the importance of simplicity of services, we have the ingredients to create the business of tomorrow. Those are the ingredients of the business of tomorrow. Last example, and then I finish with the economy with one sentence. Google Assistant. You could call it also Amazon Alexa. You could call it Microsoft, how do they call it? Microsoft? Like their search engine, but it's not Google, right? Bing, but it's not Google. Oh, sorry. That was, sometimes I have these sentences. Should not have it. No, it was fun because an analyst said that during the presentation of the product some years ago. No, it's a joke. I never make jokes about competition. I think all together we are doing the same thing. I go to your question in a second. I finish in a second. Voice. If voice works, if we can bring everything we brought on the search engine on the mobile via voice, and we can start to say, I want water, the water arrives to your home because of a partnership with a retailer. Or I can say, I need to make some calculations and calculates for you. Or it answers any question via voice. Simplicity gets to another level. you access everybody, and this is my advertisement of before, that's why I wanted to finish. It's everyone on the globe. You don't need to be an expert, use your voice. Everybody has a voice. Well, unfortunately, some people know, but I mean, normally human beings have a voice. And if we can have translation that works in any language, and the voice, it becomes everybody. And business models have a scale at all levels. You don't need to think only to the people that have a lot of money. You can provide services to everybody. Imagine a world in 5 years where voice enables everything we talked about on the web that wasn't enabled before. Imagine the power it gives you. Imagine the opportunities for students like you to create new jobs, to create new things, to participate in new stuff. I am personally totally convinced that tomorrow can be better than today. Then sharing of data, if we respect privacy and respect the user, is an incredible opportunity to create new businesses. And that, yes, there are risks with the web, of course, like any technology, but that the web brings to the economy more value, more possibility of jobs, a better future than how life was before. Yes, it disrupts current businesses. And when I was talking to a commissioner some years ago, Oettinger, he told me, Carlo, that's very nice to tell me that the web creates jobs, but I don't care. I want the job to be created where it's lost, in the area of my region where this industry is having difficulties. So I want to stop with that sentence and then go to questions. I want to listen to you as well and react to what you think. Because it's very important to me that education includes understanding of the things I said and much more about the web. Because if you understand those things, you'll be the creator of the new jobs of tomorrow. You'll be the one saying, I know how to access people properly, what sort of service to create. I'll understand the logics of the development of tomorrow. And jobs will be created where you are, wherever you are. So I think we all share a responsibility, and we share it with the university, and I'm grateful for the opportunity of talking to you today, and I'm really thankful, Professor, for that, because we share a common responsibility which is transferring as much as we can of what we understand to the young people, because they are the future, and you are the ones which can make something out of that. I leave you with one question and then to yours. On this slide, this shows collaboration is Project Jacquard, this project of, you put connectivity on garments, and you use it for many things. Remember something, and it is, my sentence to you is sort of, most important one. Opportunities come from collaboration. I strongly believe that companies that think they have to do things alone, Google included, will die in the new economy. A product like Jacquard requires collaboration with textile, collaboration then with pharmaceutical, maybe with many other sectors to create the new services. Don't try to do things alone. The era of Superman or Superwoman opening her shirt, and well, forget Superwoman because I'll be accused of saying something wrong, but Superman opening the shirt and showing a big S is not the right one. What the web is creating today is the opportunity for any industry to become another industry. Telcos to open banks, banks to become IT services, pharmaceutical to enter the web and create a new thing. Is the era of collaboration, where the strong ones are the ones who provide the tools to the others to develop themselves. Like I think the reason why Google is as big as it is because you can accuse us of anything you want, but if there is one thing we did good, is that through the search engine and our work, we were always about enabling others to do something. And that's why we retained money, that's why we became big, because we were about enabling others to do something, not about doing things ourselves alone. Okay, I hope, that's what I wanted to tell you. Now maybe we can go to questions a little bit. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I wanted to ask, can you please predict the 5 jobs that will disappear because of Google in the next 10 years?
Okay.
And the second one, can you predict the 5 jobs that will appear because of it in the next 10 years as well?
Okay. So first of all, because of is not a concept I like. I would say because of new technologies and the web. Again, us alone. But I think you know this as much as I do, but the first job that will diminish, for example, between 20 years from now, drivers, there will be less drivers because there will be more cars that will be driven automatically. But there will be more logistics. Let me give you the example. If we start to have driverless cars that go around the cities at night to deliver products to businesses, which is the business model seems to be for driverless car the most important, you need people to take the packages from those cars and put them somewhere else. So you will destroy jobs around driving cars, but create jobs around the logistics of delivering products back and forth, filling up things. I was in a big, working with a retailer some weeks ago in a big premise, and they told me, look, all this e-commerce thing, the problem is it requires lots of skills that we don't have. How do we, one thing is when you enter into a retailer and you take something from the fridge of the retailer, it's one thing. No, I'm the customer, I'm taking it, I go home. If the retailer has to bring it to me, he needs people that work minus 30 degrees in an area like this, new process, new things, new skills, new organization. So logistics will increase a lot via for e-commerce, less jobs in driving cars. Let's now go to banking. It is possible that because you do banking online, you'll need less areas, less banking offices. So less people in the banking office. Actually, we've seen that in the last 10 years. But you increase the number of people on analyzing data. And today, banks in Europe has 1/3 of the workforce in India and in Africa, they didn't have it 10 years ago, doing data crunching. But we didn't do the right education in Europe, so we've lost those jobs to other areas. So what I'm trying to tell you, and this is banking, and we can go along with that. Nobody honest can tell you today, we know that in 20 years there will be more or less jobs created by the new economy than destroyed. And you can spend your life doing this study. I have an economist, a friend, who spent the last 20 years trying to understand that. Then he realized it's a bit like the sex of the angels. What matters to you is that the jobs are created where you are. So what matters to you is that you understand what jobs can be created around you and that you work to creating those jobs. Trying to understand the question at 20 years, saying, you know, I know because I did all the calculations, what will be, is very difficult. Now, what I can tell you is that if you look at the 5 revolutions since, Gutenberg, agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, second industrial revolution, internet revolution, in the end, the number of people working always increased. Always increased. And we always said it will decrease. When Gutenberg arrived, it was the end of the economy because there were no people copying books anymore and they would have died. But they did other things. They started distributing them. They started teaching. Everything changed. Teaching became not something that you have to go to where is the library, but it can come to you. And schools and universities were developed at the times in a different way. So it just changed. And I can go along for each era. What I beg you to do is, when you ask yourself a question, ask yourself, is that question useful? Am I spending my time on something important? Yes, it's important to create jobs. But try to understand at 20 years from now, whether we'll have more jobs or less, is like to try, when you meet your future wife or husband the first day, will it be? It's difficult, time will tell you. I hope my answer is not arrogant, but I don't want to spend my time trying to answer questions that will not give me any result. So I have some hints, I have some beliefs. Logistics will increase, data crunching will increase, collaboration within companies will increase, content to put on websites will increase, video will increase, visual reality will increase, new jobs will be created. In Europe, in the last 10 years, every SMBs that started working with Google created on average 4 jobs. And we spoke about, in Europe, 500,000 SMBs, so 2 billion jobs created. Life will tell. But yes, there are hints. I know that there will be less drivers, more logistics, and okay, I go to another question, otherwise I speak for too long. I didn't give you 5, but I could. We could go through banking and say this will be destroyed and then this created, because the network of banking, yes, there are less bank, but more data. Okay, insurance, and we could do it for every sector and say this is what is destroyed, this is what is created. Whether you put yourself on the side of protecting the destroyed rather than building the future will determine if you have a job or not. Other questions? Yes. So, maybe if you tell me your name, because it's nice to know your name. I know you are studying, but anyway.
Yes, my name is Besarion Shingelia.
Good evening, Besarion.
For Friends Beso, for you.
Please.
You have mentioned that development is connected to collaboration, with people.
Yes.
And as I see nowadays, and people who are here, everybody quite say rational people and understand how the world is developing. I have such a question to you. We know that technology is developing, and I think nobody is against this idea that it's clear that the technologies are developing and new jobs that are created, they replace these traditional works and jobs that already exist. And also, I'm sure everybody knows that all changes are quite harmful for each generation. Now, as you are economists, and I think I will be also quite successful economist, I have such a question. How could we decrease these feelings of fear of people that the world is developing, world create new jobs, new opportunities, but these new jobs, they replace traditional jobs. So new jobs, new employment, it's less than the existed one. So, and in a way, as we see, objectively, less new places of work, they replace more existed places. So we see that people really...
Please, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The question should be really simple and understandable to everyone.
Well,
it's not your lecture, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too. My question, how should we behave, economists, to bring this idea to people that we should not be
It's a very important point. It's a very important point. It's a little bit follow-up of the question of your colleague. It's an important one. To me, I've got some things I do, some question I ask myself. Every service we bring out, what skills does it need? What will be needed? When we say e-commerce, what will be needed? Logistics. Why is e-commerce today very developed in the center of cities? You know, with Amazon, ourselves and others, distributing food in the center of cities and not outside cities. Because problem of logistics, cost of delivery. So again, to tell you, how can we understand what skills will be needed and focus on this, on sorting that issue? What are the issues that people will have with the new economy all over the world? And if we sort out those issues, we create jobs, we create logistics. People that understood that websites meant creating content for websites and changing advertising, created huge companies. Look at the amount of startups that were created around the globe and the importance of that economy in the last 20 years. People that started from scratch with a very small idea. But it became a global thing because they sorted one problem and globalized it. So the first opportunity you have is, the world is an oyster, it's global. So you are not confined to Russia, to Israel, to France, to Italy. You can become global if the problem you sort out is the same around the globe. Two, this is very important. The parameter of globalization is important because it was not true 20 years ago. You couldn't. Two, you can, by collaborating with other people and having certain skills, maximize results. I know how to measure on the body certain things. I go to see a pharmaceutical, we create something new. Impossible some time ago because of the cost of IT. There will be new jobs created with logistics, filling of website, applications on mobile phones. You know, 3 million jobs created in 4 years for create applications in Europe on Android. 3 million. Out of whom 50% games. Guys, you told me 5 years ago, games. 500,000 in Russia. Good. In 4 years. 5 years, okay. Would I have believed that we had 500 million jobs out of that? Games, 5 years ago. But if I thought, right, I thought I have the platform. So, platform effect, globalization, new jobs created, sorting out problems are the things I would do. When I'll be back an economist, I'll study those 4 things when Google fires me. I want to spend my time on those 4 things because it is thinking positive, because it is looking at tomorrow with an open eye, believing that tomorrow can be better. If I spend my time only on the negative aspects, difficult that good can come. Think about it. How many jobs can be created around what I just said? A lot of opportunities. And you are in the middle of that. You are in an era of opportunity. You know, lots of you 20 years ago would have said, I want to go into a big, consulting company or, I don't know, a big state company owned. Now you want to go in small and medium companies, into startups. And please, don't be afraid. Small companies are not bad. Yes, they can do good. They can grow fast. The growth of SMBs, the future will be more in the hands of SMBs than big companies. So I think it's also about, and I want to say this to yourself as students, accepting the world you live in. Certain things your parents will tell you. Like, when I said to my father, I go to work for Google, he said, what? Everybody else doesn't want you anymore? You were in big companies? No, you go into this company. It was 10 years ago, it was already, but for him it was sort of, are you crazy? Come on, you have kids. What do you do? Well, yeah, but accept to the level of risk. Think about what the company does, not the size it has, and you will be happier. There will be jobs for all the people that display the right attitude and come from schools like yours. I'm not scared for you at all, but I'm scared by what you could think. I'm not scared by what you know. I'm scared by the fact that you could become pessimistic and not believe in yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. There is no reason to do that to yourself. Okay, it was not your question, but I needed to say it. Other questions? Yes.
Thank you. Speaking of the company scales you've mentioned, are you thinking that it's going to evolve to a certain state, like a network of startups or huge corporations are going to win, or they are going to exist both in balance?
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it will be the both. I think you will have global platforms, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, some others, whose economy will be, in the end we make money, but we make small money by working with lots of people. And there will be companies whose business model will be, I work in a restricted environment but with very high value, like some science company or some consulting company or some research companies. I don't think there is a good thing like being in one business or another, or being in a big company or an SMB. The question that matters to me, and the way I choose my jobs, and I did actually do it, and I will do it again, is what problem am I contributing to? Is what I'm doing useful? If I go back home in the evening, is it useful? Have I spent my day doing something useful for whoever, for my customers, is it useful? Do something useful. Don't worry about the size. The size doesn't matter. Yes, you're right. Collaboration economy will create lots of satellite small companies working with big companies because the information system will go online. As I said before, not only marketing, but the whole of the information system. So you will have companies that will partner to create small elements of the value chain. And instead of internalizing the production of seats, if I'm a car company, 10 years ago I had 5 partners for a seat. Today I have 20 partners for a seat. This is something that was told me by a car company. Because the economy is such that, so there are lots of small and medium companies making pieces of seats that today can work with many different companies because informatics allow them to develop, to design together, to interact and work in a collaborative way. The collaborative economy is the future for small companies and is the future for big companies, for both. And this, I'm convinced. This, I'm sure. I've got proofs of that in many ways. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I would like to ask you about the artificial intelligence.
Yes, sir.
First, I would like to remind you that the competitor of Google Assistant from Microsoft called Cortana.
Cortana, thank you very much. I forgot. You're right. I knew that. But anyway, thank you for telling me.
Okay. My question is, what do you think about the future of artificial intelligence? For example, Elon Musk said that it's quite dangerous thing.
Yes.
And also, Stephen Hawking said that in 2050s, artificial intelligence will destroy us.
Yes.
An example. But what do you think the future of the artificial intelligence? It's quite, we are leading to this.
I agree. There are risks in everything. If I don't know how to use a book and I eat it instead of reading it, I die. It's not a problem today. It was a problem when the books arrived 1,000 years ago. The more the humanity does important things like the atom bomb at the end of the Second World War, terrible, but also important for Earth. Clearly, there can be huge risks if machine learning evolves into touching certain things. Human genome, if we have no rules on how we share data, if we act irresponsible, there can be risks. Now, what we do at Google is we give ourselves very specific rules on what we do and what we don't do. And you may like us or not, but I think it's the same for most of the IT companies I know. Because we are customer-oriented, our orientation will be to do things that will not destroy the tree we are sat upon. We need the trust of consumers, we need certain progresses, but we can't afford to do certain things because we would lose the market long term. There are risks in artificial intelligence. I mean, if you tell to me, Carlo, imagine a world where you can touch the genome, I am concerned. But if you tell me, look at a world where humanity can be expanded by measuring better health, on one side I say, fabulous, I love it, because we'll cure more diseases. On the other side I say, well, we'll need to create more wealth, because people will live longer and we'll have more people. So, but by the way, machine learning will allow to do that, because we will do better harvest and better things. So, there's no good answer to your question. The only answer is it's the responsibility of the companies that do it. Governments and institutions have a role in defining values, but two, you must have values in doing your job and believe to do certain things and eventually not others. It's how you use it. But there isn't any answer to tell you, yeah, Elon Musk is right. If we do certain things, it can become very dangerous. Yes.
So like humanity is not ready for the artificial intelligence right now?
Humanity is ready for machine learning.
Okay.
Machine learning is coming on the market and is helping. I don't know about real artificial intelligence for now. Definition of intelligence is what matters here. If we say intelligence is conscience, it's a step forward what machine learning is. And the reason why I use machine learning is that all the industrial applications that I know via Google and other partners are on machine learning, meaning I use my ability of memory and ability of calculation to accelerate the process, like I said before in my presentation. Truly artificial intelligence, the conscience, the ability to think, the ability to desire, the ability to love, we are not yet there. And we will have to be very careful when we see that eventually that risk arrives. Now, I'm more scared by, and again, I don't want to be critical, I love media, but today it is so sexy to talk about the risks. It's so sexy to say, hey, tomorrow morning I'll be in love with my PC. How do I make love to my PC? It's sexy to ask the question. Now, is it useful? The most important thing to do, to me, is to concentrate on what is feasible today and do it with ethics and values. Machine learning can make humanity better, can help humanity, can create more food, can cure things. And so let's work ethically on creating jobs in all areas where they are destroyed. Let's create models of economy that benefit of all the levels I said before. And let's see and progress. But try to guess tomorrow in 20 years, like the colleague said at the beginning, a little bit like you're asking me to do. Nobody knows the future in 20 years. We know certain trends. We know that machine learning is here to stay. We know that connectivity, mobile is here to stay. We know that the law of more will continue for some time. This is what companies like Google know. We know that and we bet on that. We don't try to guess the future in 20 years. We do not try to guess the future in 20 years. It's impossible. It's a nice exercise. We leave it to academics. It's not the job of people that they are in business to try to learn the world in 20 years. Too difficult. And trust me, you make no money by trying to guess in 20 years. Guess in 2 years, you'll make money. Other question? Yes, sir. I'll do another 5 minutes, then I'll leave you because I have a call with colleagues.
Yeah. My name is Popov Ilya. Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
So my question is Google Instant. I took a hard time rejecting it. It is difficult to imagine what is code for Google to abandon from this child, which seemed promising and unique. It seemed to me that it is not an accident, and it's connected with something crucious, which Google would interfere with. I had an official message from Google that this is because of the incorrect work of Google Instant on some mobile devices. I can understand then just leaving Google Instant on the desktop version and removing it on mobile devices contradicts the fundamental values of Google. Okay. After all, there was a better way. Before removal, Google Instant was the default, but it could be disabled in the settings.
Yes.
But after all, it was convenient for many people. It was a revolution in search. What prevented to do the opposite? Just remove it by default, but make it extensible in the settings.
If we want to make the list of mistakes...
Why did you cut it like that?
I got it. If you want to make the list of mistakes that Google made in the last 10 years, I start now and stop in half an hour. In Germany, some years ago, by a mistake, we started taking Wi-Fi, via Wi-Fi, data from certain cities, and we did the mistake. When we came out with the first version of Assistant, you know, the home, like Cortana, he started registering before you ask, okay, Google, then we corrected it. This is another mistake. Bugs happen, errors happens. What I do not believe, and I work for Google until the day I continue not to believe that, is that those mistakes are intentional. There is the benefit that Google may have from that is offset 100 times by having a problem like this going on the market and creating lack of trust. 100 times, 1,000 times. We have no interest in playing games and trick our consumers, but we make mistakes and they cost us a lot. See the mistake we did when we came out with a platform which was not perfect enough for matching advertising with content. We lost more than $1 billion last year because of that. Company not perfect. I know no perfect company. We make mistakes, unfortunately, every day. But I work for it until the day I believe we don't have ill intentions. The day I have one single doubt that we have ill intentions, I'll go somewhere else, because I will not be able to look at myself in the evening when I go home. I have no better answer. I hope and I think it was a mistake. I can't believe it was intentional. Also because look at now, we've lost much more money for it because it's on press than what we would have benefited from, cheating to our consumers. But the list of mistakes we've made in the last 10 years, you and I know that. There are so many. But the only people who don't do mistakes are the people who do nothing. Yes, we make mistakes, a lot of them. And we have to apologize very often. Okay, one last question maybe, sorry. Madam, very good.
Hello, Mitrofana Volga. My question is how Google use machine learning for itself, for his employees?
Oh, yes.
For recruiting, maybe?
Well, I'll give you a few examples very quickly. We use machine learning for search because we can improve the type of answers search gives by using machine learning and looking at the answers we gave to questions, and people clicked after the level of satisfaction to improve search. We use machine learning. We use machine learning on Android to improve moves because we see how people use it. It's statistical, okay? We don't care that it's you or me or her, but we care that somebody did it and we see the problems, we see the bugs and we correct them. We use machine learning to monitor usage of each and every of our platform and improve the way we work. In advertising, we use machine learning to see the results and much more fast calculate if the result of the ad is better with certain colors, certain positions, certain words in certain languages. We use it for everything. But now we call ourselves a company machine learning first. Use that power first. Use the power of the network because it helps you. And by the way, TensorFlow, the machine learning software from Google, is offered for free to anybody who wants it. You can take it and plug it into whoever software of SMB. It's open source. We did that because we believed it's fundamental that this power of using machine learning is available for small and medium companies. So they can create new services and create jobs and the new economy. And actually it's the things we are proud of. It's working pretty well. But we use it for everything. Can I thank you? I have to I had a call at 7 and a bit late. I have to join some colleagues on an issue, so I have to leave you. But I was honored to be here today. Very pleased of talking to you. I hope it was somehow useful to you. But please, believe in yourself. Believe that tomorrow is better than today. If you believe that tomorrow is worse than today, well, it's not great for beginning your life. So please, tomorrow will be better than today, and you will make it better than today. And I believe you will make it better than today. Thank you.
So no chance to thank you publicly, but we do hope that we continue our dialogue with Google and the involvement into our activities.